SprintCarUnlimited.com, coming to you from the Eastern Motorsports Press Association in King of Prussia. I'm Jeremy Elliott. I'm joined by Dirt Track Digest Mike Mallett here again doing video.
I hate video. I got a face for radio.
Well, it's not like I'm no prize. Well, we're going to just kind of preview some Pennsylvania racing going into the 2019 season, maybe some of our expectations. And obviously the big news is with the passing of Greg Hodnett, you know, how does that affect the area and what can we expect in 2019? You know, Mike, Ryan Smith takes over that ride, the Hefner Racing ride. And I thought it was a really, really good choice because I think he represents the team well off the track. And I think he has talent on the track, especially in high-paying shows. Yeah,
I mean, he proved when he got out of Pennsylvania that he can run and he can be competitive and on that bigger stage. And, I mean, you know, it was interesting when it came out. I wasn't sure how to take it. You know, I like Ryan. I've known Ryan a long time. I remember when he was running slingshots and that way back, you know, back in the...
Nothing beats a slingshot.
No, everything beats a slingshot. But but I remember watching him, you know, back in the day up and watching him come up through in his career. And now it's cool to finally see, you know, he's able to take that next step and get that ride that will put, you know, basically one of the best rides in Pennsylvania, you know. And again, we had talked before, who do you put in the car? Who's the next guy to drive that car? And you really had no idea. And the name came out, and I'm like, that's actually a very interesting choice, and I think it fits. You know, it's a guy that, you know, the talent's there, you know, the personality's there, you know, great guy, nice guy. You can walk up to him, you can talk to him, and you know, he's always willing to give you the interview and all that. And from our perspective, you know, and a fan-friendly guy. So I think it's a good choice, you know, after you break it all down and look at it and see it, you know. I don't feel for him for the pressure that's going to be on him. You know, it's kind of like when we were talking to Carson Macedo at Knoxville. The pressure of being the next guy to drive one of those cars is going to be immense.
I also think, I mean, he's going to have Red Robin as a sponsor, so that's a nice sponsorship first year. I think this is going to be the most races he's run in a season. And, you know, in the past, he's had to be careful in weekly events or be careful in certain races because he owned his own team and he had to get to the next race. That's not the case now. He can be aggressive and go after it. I said earlier this week, I'm thinking 8 to 10 wins for Ryan Smith because I think he can get after it. I think it's going to take about 2 months for him to kind of settle in, get acclimated to the car, everything that's going on with the program, even though that he's a big part of it. Jeremy Bittner, crew chief, is going to be a part of it. So I think that's good. I think that's going to cut down the curve. But just to get used to being able to go all out every night. But I still think 8 to 10 wins is definitely in the wheelhouse.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, the talent, you know, again, he's proven that there's talent there, and he's in a great car. You know, and it's a good team. And, again, the opportunity to drive a car like that doesn't come along every day. So the fact that he's got it now, go out there, and I definitely think he'll produce. I agree with you on that one.
So then it comes, who's going to be the big gun in Central PA this year? Well, I mean, I think it's Lance Deweese. No. It's Lance Deweese. Look, he's going to run about 35 races somewhere in that neighborhood, rain or whatever, God willing. But he's going to win. The bottom line is that car's too good, and he's too good right now with that combination. I don't see anybody unseating him as the pseudo premier team driver combination in the area. He won 12 times last year. That's a lot. And
was it 50%? Almost 50%?
No, I mean, it's about a third.
Maybe 30%, whatever, but it's still impressive.
It's impressive. I think he's going to battle Danny Dietrich. I think Danny Dietrich's going to come back stronger this year. Danny Dietrich, like, won one time after July 14th last year. Struggled in the second half of the year. I think that's going to change a bit. I expect him to he got married. I think that may kind of settle things down or whatever, you know, that could change you in a lot of ways. I think it's content or whatever, but I think Danny Dietrich's going to come out. I think he's going to be fast early, and I think he's going to be faster late. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to double-digit wins as well.
Yeah, I could see that happening. You know, another guy that I would probably keep my eye on is little Freddie Raymer. You know, we've seen the progression. You know, he's won the big races. I think we talked earlier last time I was on a podcast with you, you know, about him. You know, can he finally take that next step? You know, winning the one night, you know, winning the Outlaw Show, and then the next night didn't qualify. Is this year that he gets over that hump and is able to put back to back the consistency needed to run up front each and every night? You know, we're going to finally see that, and I think he's there. You know, he's the learning curve. I mean, obviously he's got a championship, so that's, you know, not so it's still a learning curve, but still young. You know, and you got to get that consistency. And is this the year he finds that and gets that?
I think it is. Last year, at the end of the year, he was strong. I mean, showed that at Port Royal Speedway. I think he can win anywhere now. I think you could see him win at Grandview Speed Week show. Him and Ryan Smith, I think, are probably the favorites down there in that particular bull ring, running for big money in Speed Week. I think Freddie's going to be an interesting. His worst track seems to be Lincoln. Which, go figure that. That makes no sense. I think he's better at Lincoln. Got to remember, last year he came out slow. He admitted he didn't necessarily make the right decisions driving last year at the beginning of the year. Might have pressed a little bit coming off a pretty good season the year before in 2017. I think we don't have that this year. I think he comes out strong. I think really we lost Greg, and you can't replace him on or off the track. But I do think Central PA is still going to be decent in your top 5 or 6 spots. I think you have Lucas Wolf, Freddie Raymer, Brian Monteith, obviously going to be good at Lincoln. You have Danny Dietrich, Ryan Smith. I think you have the guys there and Lance Deweese, of course. They're all chasing Lance, but I think you have a good group there week to week. If there's anybody on the next tier down, I think you're looking at a Steve Buckwalter or maybe, I don't know, You could go with Corey Haas is going to run again, although he's going to probably stay focused on the Grove this year. I expect him to move around a little on Saturday night. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what transpires on that tier below those top guys.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned the top guy, Brian Monteith. Is he going to get things figured out at Williams Grove? You know, last year
he was decent during Outlaw shows, had top 5 last year, but yeah, on a week to
it just not. He didn't have any luck. I think what was it, the first 3 weeks or the first 2 weeks he didn't make it through turn 1 in the A main. So he had some tough luck. You know, and Lincoln, as always, you know, phenomenal as always. So, you know, what transpires there? You know, another guy you mentioned like Logan Wagner. How's his season going to go? You know, coming off the Port Royal Championship last season. You know, what can we expect from him again? You know, I would put him in that middle group that we were talking about, kind of there. You know, is he going to get out more and do some different stuff, or is he going to? We just going to see that car at Port?
I agree, and then I think the other is Chad Trout. I thought was the most improved driver in Central PA last year. I thought he would have won at Williams Grove. He's taken out by a lap car. I don't think anybody catches him. So I can't wait to see what Chad Trout does this year. Won at Lincoln last year, top 3 in points there most of the year. So I'm anxious to see how the Trout team does and how that deal kind of progresses. Does he win at Williams Grove this year? I'm also interested in car counts. I'm a little worried about car counts in Central PA this year, just because last year there were times we didn't have good car counts. And here's the problem. We had a lot of rain to save a lot of equipment. And what if we don't have 30 rainouts like we did last year, 25 or 27 rainouts, whatever it was, some stupid number. I don't even think I can count that high. But what happens when we don't have that and people are using up their stuff? I'm really concerned about car counts at Williams Grove, Port Royal, and Lincoln.
Yeah, I mean, I think car counts in all of racing in general are something, you know, you can talk about as we go further along here. It's the cost of running a 410 sprint car is getting astronomical. You know, to be a competitive team, let's put it that way. You know, if you want to be one of those upper echelon teams and have the equipment, it is not cheap. You know, and unfortunately, the other side of things is you don't have the car owners anymore willing to flip those bills. I mean, how many guys used to, you know, quit a ride and there was 5 guys calling? You know, we did a, you know, the other video talking to the All-Stars and Blaney struggling to find a ride. You know, that's the norm now. There is not this, hey, I quit ride A. I got B, C, D, and E calling me because I'm a good driver. You gotta dig. You gotta find, you know, those rides now, and that it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the car count wise. You know, I think Williams Grove 1 week last year had under 20 cars. I mean, I think right.
Oh yeah, I mean Port Royal had 12 cars one night. Baps had 14 cars one night. It strikes everywhere. Car count knows no track in the sense of it doesn't discriminate. So I think there's going to be weeks where it's tough, and I'm a little concerned about it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You know, and hopefully we see the trend in racing go the other way, where car counts go up. But I don't know. It's not. Things aren't trending that way. You know, that's the unfortunate part. And again, you wrote a story earlier this year talking about, or late last year, I should say, it's 2019 now, but late last year talking about just so much racing.
It's too much.
There's a lot. I will never say it's too much because I love going to the races, but I understand your comment. There's just so many races. There's no nights off anymore. There's no breaks. Even when one track A's off, track B and C are running. So there's no breaks anymore. And, some guys, can go to all those races, but unfortunately that number is dwindling, that guys that can go to all those races. Like, how many guys can do all of Speed Week? Again, you look at those shows.
10, maybe.
Maybe. Right, maybe. And those guys that do that, it's tough. It's a grind. It's a grind. So car count's definitely something I would agree with, to be concerned about. And, hopefully it's not. Hopefully we get, we come back here next year and we're talking like, every week there was 25 cars and it was great. But I don't know if that's what's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, you said about adding more races. Hagerstown added 3 shows. I mean, so they have their Speed Week show and 2 other 410 shows, and I just don't know if we needed 2 more shows on top of everything. So I think there's some good. I think there's some positives to look for in Central PA. And then I also think that, we also have some concerns. So whether it be car counts, too many races, things of that nature. So we'll see how it all develops. It's SprintCarUnlimited.com, live from the Eastern Motorsports Press Association.